Saturdays in the garage from Advance Auto Parts.
Oil change, huh? Sure you can handle such a tough job?
You can go back to your own garage, you know.
But then who'd empty out your fridge for you? Full synthetic, huh? Nice.
Yeah, Advance Auto Parts had a deal. 5 quarts of Pennzoil Platinum Full Synthetic and a premium filter for $29.99.
Smart. It's a sweet deal. Look at you, Mr. Cleanest Pistons in town. You gonna get any in the pan or just on your shirt?
Advance Auto Parts. Let's get you back to the garage. See store for details.
All right, welcome to Steve Austin Show. And guess what we're doing today on this here podcast? We're going to start crossing some things I want to get done off my bucket list. That's right, I got a bucket list, and one of the things on my list is to learn how to make neon clocks. So I'm getting that process started right here on a family-friendly version of the Steve Austin Show with my friend Curtis Stimpson, the creator and owner of Curtis Clocks in Burbank, California. But before I do that, y'all know I do this podcast for the working man and working woman, and to show my appreciation for your support of this podcast, I've made a special arrangement with the fine folks over there at DollarShaveClub.com. Listen, they're going to give all new members a month of the executive razor for free when you buy a tube of Dr. Carver shave butter. If you want to know why millions of others have joined the club, let me give you just a few of the reasons. DollarShaveClub.com/Steve delivers amazing razors right to your door for a third of the price of what those big corporate razor companies charge. Joining DollarShaveClub.com/Steve means you can afford to shave with a fresh blade anytime you want. And using the executive blade from DollarShaveClub.com/Steve gives you a first-class shave without breaking your bank. And then there's Dr. Carver shave butter. Using this stuff with the executive blade will give you the smoothest shave you've ever had. And Dr. Carver shave butter isn't your average shaving cream either. This stuff is a unique conditioning formula made with high-quality natural ingredients. Folks, what are you waiting for? Sign up at DollarShaveClub.com/Steve, buy a tube of Dr. Carver shave butter, and get the executive razor for free. Dollar Shave Club has never done a giveaway like this before, so take advantage of it. Go to DollarShaveClub.com/Steve now. Hey, folks, one quick word before we get to the podcast. I got a call the other day from my buddy Kevin Owens at WWE, and basically what has happened is there was a major wildfire in Fort McMurray, Alberta, which has basically destroyed the entire town. Nearly 100,000 people were evacuated. Some people have lost everything. And Kevin and Tyler Breeze got together, and their goal was to raise $30,000, and they gave themselves 2 weeks to hit it. And they raised over $30,000 in 2 days, so now they've increased that goal to $100,000. The campaign ends May 22nd, the day of WWE Extreme Rules on May 23rd. On that day, they will donate the money to the Canadian Red Cross. And he said, Steve, you can just send people to our Twitter accounts, and they can find the link to the donation page there. So if you guys want to help out the people in Fort McMurray, Alberta, many people have lost everything that they own, and you can do this by going to Tyler Breeze's Twitter page, which is MMMGorgeous, or you can go to Kevin Owens' Twitter account, and that is Fight Owens Fight. And you can find the links there for the donation page. They're trying to raise money for a good cause. I didn't know that Tyler Breeze was from Canada, or if he's from the States or whatever, but I know obviously Kevin Owens is Canadian. And there's also a link here. It's a GoFundMe.com/22YGM7W. Anyway, you can go to Tyler Breeze's Twitter account, MMMGorgeous, or Kevin Owens' Twitter account, Fight Owens Fight, if you want to help out and make a donation to all of the people who lost everything in Fort McMurray, Alberta. To those people out there, my thoughts are with you, and Kevin Owens and Tyler Breeze are doing a damn good thing. Help a brother out if you feel so inclined.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production. From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, here we go. We're rolling sound. It's 9:15 Los Angeles time. This is officially the earliest podcast I've ever done. I'm on about my fourth cup of coffee, so bear with me as I tell you guys a quick story. The name of this podcast is called Bucket List, because there's a few things in my life that I've been wanting to accomplish, and I'm finally going to start one of those things today. You're going to hear my guest. His name is Curtis Stimpson. Who is Curtis Stimpson, you ask? I'm about to let you know. Give you a little story real quick, going way back in the day. When I was growing up in South Texas, my mother and father used to go out antique collecting. And my mom was real big into Coca-Cola memorabilia. And so that when I left school and got into the wrestling business and moved over to Atlanta, I would drive around in all the old back roads and look for old Coca-Cola signs, either in people's yards or fine antique shops and stuff like that. And to this day, I still collect Coca-Cola memorabilia. And I've shifted into oil and gas signs, the old porcelain enamel signs for you guys that follow me on Instagram. You saw me at Roy Reed's Gas Bash a couple of weeks ago out there antiquing, so it's something that I still do. And then somewhere along the way, when WCW fired me and I moved back to Texas, I got into collecting neon clocks, old Pearl Beer neon clocks. You hear me talk about that on the podcast all the time. Shiner Beer, Lone Star Beer, and I met a guy in Burbank named Rick Maverick. Now, Rick Maverick was doing some artwork for me at the time, and I would go over to his house, and he lives in Burbank. And I remember going over to Rick's house one time, and Rick is the creator and the maker of Starling Gear Jewelry. You can go to his website at starlinggear.com. He makes badass high-end stuff. So anyway, I go over to Rick's house one time, and he's got this really cool atomic bomb neon sign. It says Atomic Bar. And I told him, I said, dude, where did you get that neon sign? He goes, oh, man, my friend Curtis lives right down the road. He makes them. He works on clocks and does stuff like that. He goes, you got to meet him. I said, yeah, I got to meet him. Next time I come down, we got to go check this guy out. So anyway, Rick brings me over here to Curtis's house, where I'm at right now. I owe everybody beer. So anyway, I meet Curtis, and we start shooting the breeze, and it turns out we got a lot of things in common. First of all, he makes and repairs neon clocks. I love clocks. He builds old hot rods, cars, trucks. He's into RVing. He trades a lot of stuff. He'll find motorcycles and scooters and stuff, fix them up, trade them, and so we just had a lot in common. It turns out I would actually buy a KLR 650 Kawasaki from him, keep that motorcycle for about a year and a half. I only put about 50 miles on it, and ultimately traded it back to Curtis for a couple of neon clocks and a little bit of cash. So anyway, what I'm here doing at Curtis's house today is crossing something off my bucket list. I was talking to my wife the other day, and I said, you know what? I said, I need a hobby that I can do, that I don't have to go outside. And if I'm going to go ride my four-wheeler or my Kawasaki mule or go shoot guns or go do anything in the outdoors, I've got to go somewhere to do that. I want a hobby that I can go in my barn or my workshop and just do by myself. And because I watched Curtis make so many neon clocks, I decided I would call Curtis and give him a call. And I said, hey, man, Curtis, would you teach me how to make neon clocks? And he goes, well, hell yeah, Steve, I'd be glad to. So we're here today, and I'm going to bring my guest in today, Curtis Stimpson. Kurt, jump on your microphone right there and jump on in here. Good morning, Curtis. How are you?
Morning, Steve. Fine.
All right, I'm on about my fifth cup of coffee. I stopped over at the Bob's Big Boy to get breakfast. I don't want to come over here too early. I got in that L.A. traffic and was able to get over here in record time. Dude, tell me a little bit about your website is curtisclock.com. And, man, I've gotten about, I probably brought 5 or 6 clocks from you. I think my clock total is about 10. You've been based out of here in Burbank. You grew up in Burbank, California, right?
Right here, yeah.
Dude, you grew up, what, hot rodding, being into cars, trucks?
Oh, yeah, all that stuff. Just making anything I could make, yeah.
But before you started making clocks full-time, were you in the construction business?
I was in the construction originally, plumber, yeah. And then I built hot rods and been doing all kinds of different stuff. Yeah.
What's your favorite hot rod you ever built? What's your go-to car? Mopar?
426 Hemi.
You had a 426 Hemi?
Several of them.
What car was that in?
Yeah, I had several cars.
But what was your favorite one?
65.
Was the 426 Hemi as cantankerous as everybody said it would be? We know it was a horsepower monster, but for some reason, and I've never had one myself, but they were a little finicky as far as dependability. Yes or no?
Yeah, they're a little touchy, but once you get them all ironed out, there's nothing like it. They're great. fantastic motor.
So when did you retire or get out of the plumbing business and start making clocks full time?
Well, I didn't actually start making them right away. I mean, I looked around. Every time I'd go into an antique store, I'd say, do you have a neon clock? And typical response was every time, no, we don't have a neon clock. We don't have one. We had one, but it's sold. And I could never, ever find a neon clock. So when I finally did find a neon clock, I would buy it, take it apart, see what it was made of, and repair it and sell it and look for another one. And this happened for years until I just couldn't find any more. I looked everywhere. So I figured, you know what, this is not rocket science. I can make this clock. It's not a big deal. So I had the can spun and learned from the old builders how these things went together and just started remaking them.
Now, which were the old builders that gave you the 411 or the education? Because everything that I've read about neon is very tricky to work with, whether it's the gas part or the bending of the glass tubes. What's the deal in working with neon?
That's the tricky part. My whole life I heard, oh, you can't learn neon. It's too hard. And tell me that. I got to learn neon now. I mean, so sure enough, I went to find out how to do it and couldn't find anyone. There are no schools. There's nothing. I ended up hiring a private artist in town here and took a course, a 6-week course that cost $4,000 to learn how to do neon. And I can tell you, after doing a lot of things my whole life, welding, fabricating, sheet metal work, learning to bend neon is the hardest thing I've ever done. It is hard. Working with molten glass, it's hard, but it's rewarding.
Yeah, but tell me about, okay, so I've watched you bend some tubes here. You gave me a little bit of a display the other day. How long did it take you just to bend all the glass tubes into letters? Because I'm not looking to achieve that. I just want to be able to build a circle of neon and light up a clock. How tough was it for you to learn how to pick up that part of it? Because you're an absolute master. And if you people are listening, go to curtisclock.com and you can put in an order from Curtis, because this guy builds the coolest, baddest, commercial grade, American made stuff that will last a lifetime. It's badass. curtisclock.com, and on Instagram, Curtis Clock on Instagram. But how tough was it, and how long did it take you to perfect the letter making aspect of this art?
Well, let's put it this way, Steve. I'm 200 pounds, and I bent my weight in glass before I could do anything. I mean, it took weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks before I could even make a halfway decent-looking circle. It was horrible. And it's just, you have to be persistent. You have to do it again and again and again and again. And unfortunately, the problem is most people give up. When they take a class, they give up. They go, this is too hard, I can't do it. You have got to stick with it. That's number one.
Okay, I'm going to stick with it because I've gone out on my podcast and I'm making the commitment right now. Where will we start? Because explain, we're looking at this silver clock right here on the wall. And as you guys listen to this podcast, I'll post a bunch of pictures on my Twitter account, Steve Austin BSR, and along with my Instagram, Steve Austin BSR and Curtis Clock on Instagram, so you can see what we're talking about. But if we're looking at that silver clock right there, we've got, would you call that the base or the can?
That is the can. That is the can. That's what your neon tube sets on. And your bezel sets on top of that. Your bezel is what holds the glass in.
Okay.
Yes.
So bezel, case, or case, bezel, glass.
Case, bezel, glass. And the back is called the lid.
The lid. And so then the face is called?
The face.
The face. You got the minute hand, hour hand, second hand.
Right.
So where will I start with this process? Are we just going to get a can? Because, okay, tell me about the motor aspect, because I'm guessing my take on the motor is you get this motor and it has been programmed to spin at a certain amount of time. Your second hand's going to make one revolution every 60 seconds. Then it's going to also move your minute and your hour hand accordingly. Is that motor spinning 3 different things to hook all those hands to?
That's right. It's called a gear set. The motor is hooked onto what you call a gear set, which turns the hands at a different rate.
And this is basically, the clock doesn't really know what time it is. But by the way it's been programmed, that's the way it keeps time.
That's right.
And it's just like getting a watch that's not very accurate. That mechanism, like the watch I'm wearing right now, I won't name the brand of it, but this thing always runs 3 minutes slow. So basically, you're hoping that all your motors are spinning at the right time. Every clock that I've gotten from you keeps immaculate time. What brand is the motor, or where do you just get these things from?
It's a Synchronon motor. It's made in Indiana, the same company that made motors for these clocks originally back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. It's all the electrical requirements in the United States are 60 hertz. So these motors are 60 hertz. Europe, they have 50 hertz motors. So you have to be careful not to get the wrong motor in the wrong country, or it won't ever keep time. But the United States are all 60 hertz, and that's about it. It'll keep perfect time with those requirements.
Okay, now, how long? What's the durability of these things? I mean, because you built these things to last, and most neon clocks are on 24/7, 365 forever.
A neon tube will dissipate for 50 years before it loses vacuum. So whether a neon tube is lit or not, it will wear out at the same rate by losing vacuum in the tube. But it's years and years and years and years before that happens. So typically you can have a neon clock going for 50 years, no problem.
Okay, now check this out. In front of us we have some circles of neon tubing that you've bent, and this will be the outline of the clock. It will light up the outside edges and maybe the whole entire clock. So once you've bent this glass tube, how big is that in diameter? Half-inch diameter?
Well, there's 12 millimeters usually, most common, 12 millimeter.
Okay.
12 millimeter and 10 millimeter.
Okay, now you started off with a straight piece of glass. You built this into a circle.
Right.
And then you've got two electrodes on an electrode on each end where it starts and finishes.
Right.
So here's my question. You've bent the tube.
Right.
You put the electrodes on there. How do you charge that with neon gas, and how do you keep the gas from escaping before you cap it off?
Right over here. This is the pumping station. This
Right.
is where it gets bombarded and filled with the gas. And then it's ready to go.
Okay, but how do you cap it off? I mean, where do you plug the? Okay, there it is. I'm looking at this little glass thing. It's got a sharp end on it, so you stick the tube on the end of that. How do you keep the gas from escaping to plug up the other side?
Well, you seal it with a flame.
Okay.
You seal it so it seals itself, and it's sealed inside. After everything's loaded in the tube,
Right.
you seal it with a flame, and it seals itself.
Okay, neon is a gas.
Neon's inert gas. Neon. And
Now,
argon.
how does one go about purchasing neon glass? Can I just go to some Home Depot and say, "Hey, I want some neon gas"?
No, but you can go to a neon shop or a sign supply shop and buy them in liters, and they're in glass tubes.
Okay, you've got a neon 0.9 liter, and then you have argon. What's the difference between argon and neon? Is it argon for your the heater thing with the bend?
Argon goes in any tube that's not red. Argon goes into all your colored tubes.
But it's considered neon.
No, neon is neon. Neon is always red. When you see brake lights of a car, that's neon gas.
Okay.
Anything other color is phosphor in the tube that's lit by argon.
But commonly referred to as neon? I mean, because
I
it
guess
just...
you could say so. People do it all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Because no one says, "Hey, that's a neat argon clock."
Right.
So how much does a 0.9 liter of neon cost?
How about $20? And that can fill, that little jar flask can fill about 100 tubes.
Okay. So then you have a place, the cans, when you first got into business, who would make your cans? That would be, if you're looking at a round clock, I'm talking about the basis part of the clock where you screw in the motor, put all your bolts in, your bezel, put it all together. How did you find someone to make all the pieces of the clock so that you could assemble them?
I have a metal spinner in Glendale, California that does all my cans for me. And I can take an old clock over there and say, duplicate this. And he will spin 100 or 200 of them,
Right.
whatever quantity I want to have spun. He can make it exactly. And the clock comes back to me, raw metal, and it's ready to be powder coated, a certain color, whatever specific color somebody wants.
One of the things I like about your clocks is you come out with the heavy-duty cords, which will last forever. dude, I'm someone that doesn't like working with electricity. Is this going to be pretty simplified once we get into the inside of this thing and I start tying into that motor? Is this going to be something, Curtis, just like the insurance commercial, so easy a caveman could do it? Because, first of all, I know the neon thing is going to be a challenge for me, but just as far as the assembly process, you build these things like a tank. This is quality craftsmanship, and you have mastered this. So do you think you're going to be able to help me build or learn how to build a friggin' neon clock?
No problem, Steve. No problem. It'll be very, very simple. We got it all down, and it should be very, very easy to do. We've got the latest technology with these transformers now. They have solid-state circuitry, built-in protectors that if there's any fluctuation in the electricity, they'll automatically shut off. There's no problem of fire or somebody getting electrocuted. It's a piece of cake. Like you said, the hardest thing about this whole process is you learning how to bend the neon tube.
But again, if I got to go to the pre-bent ones, which I can buy, then I'm willing to go down that route. But I want to learn because it's lucky that I know you, because I got a chance to learn from a master who I happen to be friends with. After this, maybe we won't be friends because I won't be worth a damn at bending neon tubes. But I do want to try to learn the nuts and bolts of it. During the time that you've been building these neon clocks, have you ever had someone that you came in here and mentored?
No. Actually, it's funny because everybody that's ever commented on it, I said, you're welcome to try. Here's my neon station. I'm all set up. Would you like to give it a try? And I haven't had any takers yet. Nobody seems to want to get their feet wet with bending neon. So,
hey, with all the stuff that you've got on your website, and sometimes, like back in the day, I'd ride out to, or we'd meet in Pomona at the swap meet out there, and you'd take your camper, one of the ones that you traded, the master of wheeling and dealing, Curtis Stimpson, and you'd sell a lot of your neon clocks. And we'd ride around there and look at all the signs, see if we could find anything. Out of all the stuff that you do, from one end of the spectrum, just being a basic clock, all the way up to the top end of the spectrum, which I'm looking at that one clock, which reminds me of an old Attentioneer. That thing is incredible. I'll send a picture of that out. What is the general average price of a Curtis clock? Just average, because you can go high and low on these things. What would you say?
I'd say about $450, maybe $500 or something like that.
And I paid that several times on some of the things that I've gotten from you. And if you're looking for a badass clock, and especially if you've got a business, man, go to curtisclock.com and check this guy out. Because, dude, when I walk into, I just got finished eating. I got in traffic early today, Curtis, because I didn't want to get caught up in traffic. So I wanted to kill some time before I came over here. And I stopped over at the Big Boy right over there on Burbank off of Pass Avenue, and sure enough, there was a Curtis clock in there. That was a basic model. What would something like that go for?
Well, I did that for Bob's Big Boy because I had an old photograph of Bob Wyand in his pantry in Glendale in about 1930-something, and I looked hard in the background, and sure enough, it was a Brubaker clock that I recognized, and I said, I got to find one of those someday. I'm going to restore it, and I'm going to give it to Bob, so that's what I did.
Hey, man, there's a clock I got down at my ranch. It's a double-sided square clock. It's like an old factory or warehouse clock that would hang in the middle of a gigantic factory, and so there's a face on each end of it. And I'll put a picture of that on my Instagram account as well. Where did you find that old clock at?
I don't remember. I think I found that on eBay or something. It was a double-sided square clock, yeah.
But from about the 30s or 40s?
I would say 30s, yeah. 30s. It was a glow dial clock, yeah.
And so that's hanging up in my in a ranch down at the Broken Skull Ranch, and that thing's on 24/7. I get on my security cameras. I'll turn that thing on. I'll log onto my web cameras, and I'll check out that clock. That thing will basically last forever, right?
Basically, yes. Yes, as long as the vacuum doesn't leak out of the glass tube, it'll last forever. They've got a neon sign they found in a building down in L.A. at Clifton's Cafeteria that had been burning. They tore the wall down, they remodeled it, and they found the neon sign had been burning inside the wall for almost 100 years.
Are you kidding me?
No.
What did they do with it?
They're still there.
Yeah.
They've got it.
What did it say?
It's just a tube or something, some part of a letter or something, I think.
All right, how many, this is just you working out of your garage and you got the perfect setup out here. How many clocks do you make every single week?
I figured I make about a half a clock a day is my production rate.
Right. And what about special orders? How do people, they just email you or just get on your website and contact you? Because here's the thing, we're in his garage. He's got all these setups for all these tubes hanging. Clocks are all over the walls. And then he's got this old school thing that you would see like at a diner from many years ago. It's a circle that spins like they would put your ticket on if you've ever been to like a Waffle House or something like that.
It's a menu wheel.
It's a menu wheel. Most of you cats that listen to the show might be too young to remember what a menu wheel looks like. So he's got about 6 or 7 clock orders here. How does someone contact you to order a clock?
My number's on the website. It's everywhere.
Now, do you do this just because you wanted something to do?
I do this because I'm selfish. I only do this because I love neon clocks. I just do this for me, I gotta say. I don't know, somehow, some way, I don't understand why. When I was a kid back in the 50s, a mom would come up with a station wagon, load us all kids in it, and we'd go down to the local double feature matinee and watch a monster movie or a Western. And every time, my eyes would gravitate towards that clock over the exit sign, and there was always a neon clock in that theater, and I always end up looking at that clock. So I'm thinking 50 years later, this is how it's manifested itself in me. These clocks, I'm trying to redo every clock I ever remember. So I don't know.
Did you go to college, Curtis?
No, I didn't.
But you were in Vietnam?
Yes.
How long did you serve over there?
2 years.
What was your division or specialty?
I was in transportation.
Dude, how was that?
It was a job. I didn't really ask any questions. I just did it. I was lucky. Everything went fine. No problem.
No problems when you came back?
No, I was okay. It was all right.
You just built a, where's the USS Arizona clock?
Oh, right.
Pearl Harbor right behind you.
Pearl Harbor.
You said that one got you a little misty-eyed.
Those are some brave guys back in the day on those ships.
Yeah. If you go on Curtis's Instagram account, Curtis Clock, you'll hear his, I don't want to say it on the air, but you can put the phrases that they messed with the wrong effing Navy.
Right.
So, a badass clock. Was this a commission clock, or did you just build this for the hell of it?
I just did it for the heck of it. Yeah.
Well, hey, man, let's shut off the podcast right now, and we'll do some stuff with the clocks. Put me through the paces, give me some 411, and see where we start from, and then we'll turn on the recorder again and come back and wrap up the show. You down with that?
Great, you bet.
All right, gang, Steve Austin here. I'm pursuing my bucket list. I'm hanging out with Curtis Stimpson of Curtis Clocks. You can find him on the web at curtisclock.com. And speaking of badass websites, let me tell you how you can create your own professional quality website, blog, or online store. Just go to Weebly.com/Austin. Weebly has a wide variety of professionally designed mobile-friendly themes to choose from, and you just pick a theme and then you drag and drop your content to build and publish your website. Yes, it really is that easy and that fast. You can update and change your site anytime on any device, and you can do it right from your phone. And I think that's the best part, because Weebly has an app that lets you update your site, add more content, and check your online store orders right from your phone, no matter where you are. You don't need to be in no office or sit in no computer to work on your website. With Weebly, you have instant access, so you can take care of business anytime you need to. Creating a fantastic website shouldn't get in the way of your dreams. Join the over 30 million people who are already dreaming big with Weebly. Get started today for free at Weebly.com/Austin. That's Weebly.com/Austin. Let me spell it out for you. WEEBLY.com/Austin. You know, weeds are like nature's boomerang. And Roundup knows they're going to keep coming back. So with one spray of Roundup Mass Control 365, kill those stubborn little rascals right down to the root and keep them away for up to a year. Hey, draw the line and stop weeds from boomeranging back. And you know what I'm drawing the line at this week, folks? AJ Styles and Roman Reigns match back at the WWE Payback pay-per-view. I think it's one of the best matches I've seen in the last couple of years, and I gave it 5 stars. I thought the entertainment factor in this match and the work done by both guys, they knocked it out of the park. AJ Styles carried this match, but Roman delivered in a big way, and all I can say is, let AJ be AJ. Turn that cat loose. And when it comes to Extreme Rules, let these two guys do a straight-up match with nothing but tools in hand. So I'm drawing the line at AJ Styles and Roman Reigns putting on one of the best matches of the last few years, and Roundup's drawing the line at weeds. Your patio should be for cooking out and kicking back. Roundup Max Control 365 helps keep it that way by keeping weeds away for up to a year. One spray of Roundup Max Control 365 gets you up to 365 days of weed-free relaxation time. Draw the line.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
All right, part 2 of the Bucket List podcast. I'm over here with Curtis Stimpson of Curtis Clocks. Curtis, we just got finished putting together an entire clock. You had already had the neon tube made. You had all the pieces put together. You showed me where to put all the screws, the holes, how to put the glass on, and we put together an incredible clock. And it was yellow and black, so you're going to call this...
Bumblebee. The Bumblebee Beehive.
So you're going to put this thing on eBay or what?
Probably. Sure.
All right,
yeah,
so people can look for it on eBay. It'll be the first clock that I actually took part in it. And I won't say took part in because I basically watched and observed. I still got my arm in a sling, rotator cuff surgery. It's been hard for me to do anything. But anyway, it was awesome watching you put that clock together and light it up. And so it gives me an idea of I got a long ways to go. The assembly thing, I think I can get. I know I'm going to be here a few more weeks learning this stuff. But, dude, talk about, we put that clock together. Then we went over to the big boy and had lunch. And then we came back, and we started bending neon tubes. Now, Curtis, these neon tubes we were starting with were how long?
3 feet.
So 3 feet neon tubes, and they're...
They're 12 millimeter diameter round.
Okay, so anyway, Curtis has these different flamethrowers here. What's this one called?
It's the ribbon burner.
It's a rhythm burner. What's this thing over here?
That's a crossfire.
And then what's the other? A little.
That's the hand torch. Hand torch.
A hand torch. So anyway, basically, he has a template laid out here on his work table. And it says 13 inches across it because a lot of the neon circles that he makes are for 13-inch clocks. At least that's the size of neon that goes to fit a particular clock. So he goes about heating up a 3-foot neon tube, and he bends a couple of them and gives me a little bit of 411 how to do this. And he hands me a tube and says, go for it. So I went for it. I ruined 3 damn tubes. I've got a cut on my forefinger, a cut on my thumb. I got a cauterized spot where I burned the crap out of my thumb. Curtis, how would you sum up my neon bending skills? Please be very brutally honest.
You're not supposed to touch the hot part of the glass, Steve. That's a no-no.
Man, I'll tell you what, the way this thing is laid out here, he's working with an apparatus here that's probably about 18-inch flame that comes out of this thing. And so you grab the glass tube at each end, and you kind of start spinning it around. And Curtis likes to hold his tube about a half-inch above the source of heat as he continues to rotate this. Now, I was a little bit of a disadvantage, Curtis. I'm not going to blame it on the fact that my arm's in a sling, but I didn't have full range of motion, so that didn't help me any. And the trick about it is heating up his tube at a point to which it can start being bent. And then he has this template that he lays down on his work table, and you start working it around that circle to create the perfect circle for the neon tube. And then so once you get, half of it bent, Curtis, you kind of just let it hang up, because it's going to take you, 3 heating processes for a pro like yourself to complete the circle.
Right.
And then the thing that got me was when you turn the ends up to put the electrodes in it, and then you got to charge it. And we made the color blue. So instead of helium, we used argon and then just a trace of mercury.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Why do we use the argon and the mercury to create blue?
It brightens up the argon. It makes it brilliant blue.
Okay, you're explaining to me, when you got a neon tube, there's nothing in there. You have filaments on each end. If you've ever seen, you've never seen the inside of a neon clock, there's wires that go in there, but then when you look at the tube, it's clear. So how is this thing burning? What's the difference between this? Because I can touch this and it's not hot compared to a regular light bulb.
The gas inside the tube is acting as the filament. Instead of a metal filament like tungsten carbide, it's gas. It's argon. It's an inert gas in the atmosphere.
Okay, well, tell me about what we did before, because after you made this 13-inch circle, you turned the ends up, you basically welded on. You melted 2 ends of glass so that the electrodes could stick out. And then we went through a process of which you hooked to a machine, and you were basically sterilizing the inside of that tube.
Right, it's called bombarding.
It's called what?
To bombard.
Okay, what is that process?
You sterilize the inside of the tube, so it's absolutely pure and clean, so the filament will burn.
Okay, and then you hooked it up, and that's another thing. You keep melting this glass and attaching it to more glass to suck all the air out of it.
Right.
And then fill it back with the argon.
That's correct. That's correct.
And so on a 13 millimeter tube, you want to go in about, 12 or 11 PSI?
Right. It's on a 12 millimeter, it's 11, and on a 10 millimeter, it's 13.
Well, see, man, I tell you what, here's the thing about it. When we put that first clock together, when the first circle was already made, and I saw you hook everything up, and you put in the motor.
Right.
And then the transformer.
Right.
And the transformer is so you can turn the neon on and off, but the clock will always be going.
Correct.
So you always keep your time, but you can turn the neon off. So that looks simple enough, and it's a complex process. Don't get me wrong, it's going to take me a while to memorize it. But, dude, when we came over to the neon, you talk about humbling. Like I said, I got 2 cuts on my fingers. I got to burn the crap out of my thumb. How long did it take you to master this? Because the circle is one thing, turning the electrodes up is a whole different thing. But then when you look at some of the clocks that you've created with doing the lettering, how long did it take you to get, first of all, good, and then consider yourself a master?
I don't consider myself really that good. I keep working at it. It's a work in progress. It's just a work in progress. Some days I come out here and I can't bend anything, and I try and try. And other days it's fine. Everything works fine. The gas pressure, your flame pressure regulation depends upon whether you can maybe work well or not. There's a lot of elements, a lot of things to factor in when bending neon. So it's a work in progress. That's all I can say. It's the apprenticeship is 10 years to do neon bending. So it's very hard, takes a lot of skill and lots and lots and lots of practice. And the best thing I can say for somebody that's learning, do not give up. Don't give up. You'll want to give up, but don't. Keep doing it, and you'll do fine.
So the fact that I cut 2 fingers, burned 1, I'm right where I should be. I've got a long ways to go. This is not going to be an overnight thing. One of the things you were talking about, because you're a handyman, you know how to weld. What all do? You weld, you plumb,
fabricate, build. I don't know anything.
But you said basically you can do it all, and so if you can do all that stuff, if you really want to challenge yourself, try to work with neon.
Yeah, I thought neon was a piece of cake. I said I got to try this since I want to be able to do everything well, and it's the hardest thing I've ever done. It's hard. It's just hard to learn. It takes time.
One of the things that we did as far as sterilizing the tubes, you had to hook us to a transformer. And how many volts were you hitting that with?
It's 15,000 volts.
And so you were saying the most dangerous thing about working with neon is electrocuting yourself, but that's hard to do if you have the proper setup.
Right.
So when you go to buy all this equipment, and how much equipment would you say if you added up equipment in dollars?
You can set up with the neon pumping station for about $10,000 with the
And that's
flame.
not included. I mean, dude, you got about, I don't know how many drills you have with different attachments on it, and so that's not including all the hardware you have, all the cans that you have, and that stuff you've acquired over the years.
Right.
But dude, there's so much stuff going on here. This is going to be a little bit harder than I thought to get involved in.
It's a labor of love.
I love it. I'm going to learn how to do it. Yeah.
Really a labor of love.
The 15,000 volt transformer, dude, do you just go to the store and they'll sell you one? I mean, you don't have to have a license for all this stuff?
No, neon shop, industrial shop can set you up with that stuff. They have put a package together for you. Depending upon what your criteria, what you need for what you're pumping, they can put all this stuff together.
And again, I might have asked this in the early part of the podcast, but after burning myself, cutting myself, eating a chicken fried steak over at Big Boys, I forgot. Who took you under their wing and taught you this, or did you just buy this equipment and start doing it yourself?
There's an artist in Los Angeles named Michael Fleckner, and he's a great neon artist. He taught me. I went to school in his school to learn.
So how long were you in that school?
6-week class.
And I mean, dude, and that's kind of like when I got in the wrestling business. It was just like a couple of month course, and then it's on the job training.
Right.
You get the technical stuff, or get the knowledge, or here's how you do it. But then, man, it's just like being in the ring. It's every time it's rep.
Right.
The more you do it, the better you're gonna be.
Same thing.
But the way I was making that first damn circle, I should have kept it. I threw it in the trash. Man, I'd burn through a lot of glass.
If you do that circle 14,000 more times, I guarantee it'll be perfect.
Hey, to talk about what you're inspired to create, because, man, I see a lot of this stuff, Macintosh stereo amplifiers, the USS Arizona clock, which is on your Instagram account, Curtis Clock. You got to check that out. You just made the Spartan trailer coaches. I like the double-faced glow dial up there hanging from your ceiling. When you get up and all of a sudden you come out here to your garage, how do you say, I'm going to make this today? Or it's because you've got orders coming in and say, well, so-and-so wants this made. What dictates what you do?
Well, sometimes I have orders that I have to fill, but other times when I just may get creative and have an idea and want to do it, that's just kind of whatever comes to my mind.
You ever thought about global expansion, bringing people in here, trying to blow Curtis Clocks up, or you happy where you're at?
I don't know. I think I'm pretty happy where I'm at. I don't have to punch a clock, so I'm happy.
Hey man, you and I both like the RV, and you got to share this RV story with our listeners out there. We won't mention the dealer's name, but me and Curtis are both fanatics about RVing, and Curtis had traded out of his RV, one of the ones that I almost bought, and he decided, man, he's going to get back in the RV game. So he had located one with relatively low miles on it, and he expected it to have the Triton V10 Ford motor, which is the motor that I have in my RV, and so does my brother, and that's a great powertrain for an RV. So you get to the dealership, take it over, Curtis, because you go home with the RV, and all of a sudden you're driving home and you're thinking, man, this thing ought to have a little bit more punch to it than it does. And then what happened?
So, to my dismay, I looked up in the book and found out it was a V8, and I was just devastated. I couldn't believe it. So we contacted them the next morning and drove the coach back. And
you sent me a text, though. You were livid because pretty much it is almost standard operating procedure for all these coaches to have the Triton V10, and all of a sudden you've got the V8, and you're a gearhead. So, like, you were mad as a hornet.
All the salesmen said they're all V10s.
Right.
All of them, they're all V10s.
They just assumed they were.
Right.
And,
so,
dude, if you're going to pull anything like you are, or put one of your bikes on the back or your scooter on the front, you want the V10.
Right. And on the way home, I noticed, I said, this isn't pulling like my other 4 V10s I've owned. Something's wrong. So I looked it up, and sure enough, it was a V8. So I contacted them, went back the next morning. My wife and I went back, and apparently they said that they were wrong. They were sorry. They were wrong. None of the salesmen there knew it was a V8. They said they really thought it was a V10. So they made it up to us, though. They gave me a brand new coach. Now, this is the used coach I'd bought. I took it back, and they gave us a brand new one with 0 miles on it. That was great.
Dude, I got to give them respect for at least honoring.
Yes.
Hey, man, everybody assumed it was a V10. It wasn't. You bought it under that guise, or you would not have bought a V8. And the fact that they traded you out like they did speaks to what kind of dealer they are, because when you sign the papers, a lot of times it's like, hey, that's on you. If you didn't notice that, then that's your mistake, not ours.
That's right. That's right. They honored it.
But that same dealership that you were dealing with, I've done business with as well. So the fact that they back up their word makes me think that I'll go back and still continue to trade with them.
Sure.
When you guys going to make your maiden trip in the RV?
Tomorrow morning. Early.
Where are you going?
We're going to Joshua Tree.
What's out there in Joshua Tree? I always hear about
Joshua
it. I ain't never been.
I don't know. It's desert. Beautiful.
Dude, is that where they do Burning
We've got
Man?
some friends up there that actually bought a clock from me, and I repaired it, and I'm bringing it back to them.
Right.
So,
is that where they do Burning Man?
I don't think so. I'm not
That sounds
sure.
a little crazy for me.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
When are you going back out to Pomona to go back to the trade show?
Pomona is probably about 4 weeks.
You going to take some clocks out there?
Yes.
You going to take our Bumblebee clock?
I'll probably have it sold by then. I'm sure I will.
Hey, man, check it out. I'm talking with Curtis Stimpson. We might be doing a part 2 in a couple of weeks out of this show to see if my skills get any better. It was very interesting hanging around Curtis. Every time I've come over here, he's got something on his wall that catches my eye because I absolutely love antiques and I love clocks. And now that I'm trying to get into learning how to make a clock, Curtis, I think what I'm going to do is start off with a couple of tubes that have already been pre-made so I don't have to make the tube myself and just work on the assembly process. And if you can get me squared away on the assembly process of using pre-bent tubes, I think that'll speed up my curve, and then I can come in here while you're doing something else and work on my glass bending skills till I can build a proper circle and then learn to insert the electrodes on there, because it is something that I want to master. Because a long time ago, a couple of years ago, I had a badass new old stock pearl sign, and I broke that thing bigger than Dallas. It was brand new but old. And I was thinking, you friggin' idiot, who do you know that's going to fix this? And so I brought it to you, and you were able to fix it. So I want to be able to, whether I have someone make my tubes for me, at least I want to be able to possess the skill set.
Right, sure.
So that's my goals, and that's my intention. And because I am committing, you will see me building clocks. I don't know, Curtis, with the nuts and bolts of it, if we did the basics like you did today, assembling the Bumblebee clock, I think in a couple more visits, on that end,
sure,
just watching you, I think I can be up and running.
Yeah, we can do that. Sure.
I mean, I'm not going to be building anything fancy, probably nothing with any lettering on it, just the basic clock.
Sure.
And that's pretty much what I want to do. I just want something to occupy my time, and happens to be building clocks, no pun intended, but it's something that I enjoy today.
Great.
Hey, man, Curtis, are you on Twitter?
No, I'm not.
But you are on Instagram.
Yes, I am.
And your handle is?
Curtis Clock.
Curtis Clock, without the S.
Right.
And your website is curtisclock.com.
Right.
Hey, man, if you want to check out all Curtis' stuff, check out those 2 sites. If you want to order something, call the man and he'll build it for you. If you want a badass, American-made, custom-made, real-deal, heavy-duty clock that's customized for you or for your business that will last the rest of your life, this is the guy to come to. He's the guy that builds all my stuff. He built my Broken Skull Ranch clock. He built my El Segundo Broken Skull IPA clock. He's a master at his trade, and he's a fair man. Curtis, I appreciate you taking the patience and time to spend with me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast, because this is a part of my life. It's something I'm very passionate about. I like to share things with you guys that I love to do, and I want to make clocks, so I came to the man, and he helped me out. And I'll be coming back in the next few weeks. So Curtis might not be on the show, but you're going to hear me talk about how my skills are coming together, because just like I tell you to commit to the DDP yoga program, I am committing to making a fine American clock. Maybe not up to Curtis's grade, but that's what I'm going to do, and that's the bottom line, because I said so. Curtis, it's time for me to jump in my wagon over there and ride off into the sunset and brave Los Angeles traffic with one arm.
Thank you, Steve.
Good talking to you.
Thank you.
And speaking of committing to the DDP yoga program, my buddy Diamond Dallas Page has made it easier than ever to do just that, thanks to his new DDP Yoga Now app. Dallas's app lets you do DDP yoga whenever and wherever you are, and all you need is your mobile device to do it. And yeah, I'm talking about doing DDP yoga from your phone. You can download DDP's great new app at iTunes or the Google Play Store. And Dallas has thought of everything with this app. He's got all the workouts on it. And you can even do live workouts from the DDP Yoga Performance Center in Georgia. He's got recipes, nutrition tips, and cooking demonstrations so you can learn how to prepare healthier meals for yourself. He's even got a rewards program built in so that the more yoga you do, the more points you earn. And then you can redeem those points for some great DDP yoga merch and other prizes. And right now, you can get 3 free months of the DDP Yoga Now app when you buy DDP Yoga program at ddpyoga.com/Austin. That's right. Dallas is giving all you guys a special deal. Just go to ddpyoga.com/Austin and take advantage of it. As Dallas always says, all you have to do to start living a healthier life is commit to the program. So get started now at ddpyoga.com/Austin. All right, man, my thanks again to Kurt Stimpson and Curtis Clocks. It was good to hang out with you, Curtis. And we got a long ways to go before I know how to make a neon clock. I tell you, that's one thing for sure. I'm going back next Friday for round 2 of my clock-making lessons with Kurt Clocks out there in Burbank. And, man, my injuries are healing up. My thumb burn spot is healing up. My 2 cuts are healing up. I'll tell you what, next time you look at a neon clock, or next time you see a neon sign hanging in a window, someone had to bend those glass tubes into those letters, and it is a lot tougher than it looks. Dude, here's the thing. I'm just trying to make a neon circle out of glass. I'm not trying to make any letters. I know that's probably way beyond my capabilities, and maybe I'll change my mind after doing that for a couple of years. But right now, the task at hand is just making a circle. I wish I would have had a video camera there to capture, you know, when you lay that glass on the table and you're trying to bend it around that template to form that circle, and then you form the circle, and then you cut off the ends, and then you basically weld or melt another piece of glass with the electrodes on it onto that, so you can then put your argon or neon in it to charge the thing. It's a very intensive process, and I hope that we were able to at least describe to some degree of what's actually going on, because it's a lot tougher than it looks. But I'm going to keep doing this. It is on my bucket list, and if it's one of the things that I'm actually passionate about, so that's why I'm going to stick with it. And I told Curtis, I mean, I don't care if Curtis wears gloves or not. Next time I go in there, I'm going to wear my motorcycle gloves, because the fingertips on my right finger, where I had my right shoulder surgery, I still don't have all the feeling back in those fingertips yet. And so that might have curtailed a little bit of my abilities. Now that left hand's the one I screwed up so much, and I got all the feeling in that one. So I don't know. I just think I need to wear a pair of gloves for safety reasons. A global icon and a national treasure cannot lose his fingers due to a burn accident trying to make a neon clock. I tell you what, folks, you know what I'm doing right now? I am sitting in a hotel. I guess it's the Renaissance Hotel out here in Indian Wells, California, kind of by Palm Desert, Palm Springs, Rancho Mirage, whatever. You people that know L.A. a little bit, about 120 miles outside of L.A., and we got up this morning and we drove out here. We're only here for about a day and a half. It's a National Kawasaki Dealers Meeting or something like that. I'm here on behalf of Kawasaki Motorsports, of which I am a brand ambassador. Looking forward to seeing a lot of stuff tomorrow and hanging out with everybody. And right now, my wife, I can see her through the window right here. She's laying out there by the swimming pool, soaking up some rays of sunshine. And as soon as I get done with this podcast and sending it to Stacy over there in the 90210, I'm going to take my ass out there, and I'm just going to have on a sleeveless dry-fit shirt and my camouflage shorts and some sandals. I don't think I'm ready to bust off my shirt yet with my arm in a sling and as pasty white as I am. I haven't really been in too much sunlight since I've had my shoulder surgery, because I stay basically indoors. And I tell you what, I'm so damn lily white, I might need to put some 100 block just to go out there and have one margarita with my wife before I get ready to do this Kawasaki function. But we were driving out here today on I-10 West, and we got into traffic, and there was a dude driving right beside us, and he was kind of like in one of those square-shaped SUVs. And this dude was straight up texting the whole time he was driving. I mean, he was looking down. You know how some people kind of look up and they'll look down while they text? Or some people kind of do that kayfabe texting, you know, where they got their eyes up and they keep looking down right there by the center console. This dude straight up had his phone in his lap and wasn't looking up at all. And we're like, man, look at this friggin' idiot. Look at him. And it's pissing us off because it's so unsafe. Luckily, we're in the lane beside him. And we're thinking, oh, man, there's always a cop up here over on the side of the road watching for people who text on the phone while they're driving, or people who have a phone in their hands, because Los Angeles is a hands-free city, or California is a hands-free state. You cannot have a phone in your hand while you're driving. You can have your headset on. You can have Bluetooth on. But these people that are texting, they're starting to pull these people over. So we're thinking, oh, man, this dude's going to get drilled, because we know where this cop always sits over here on his motorcycle on the right-hand side of the road. And sure enough, the dude was texting bigger than Dallas. He was rolling straight down the boulevard, and I'll be damned if there was a cop right there on his motorcycle, right where we expected him to be. And guess what? He didn't see the guy in the car texting, because he was on his cell phone texting himself, sitting on patrol. Man, we were going to yell at the cop and roll our windows down and say, hey, man, the dude's texting right here. We was going to narc on him, but the cop was texting too. And I said, you know what? forget about it. We were driving out here, and it's about 120 miles out here, and I can't tell you how many people that I passed or that passed me and was just straight up texting. That's one of the biggest things that chaps my ass out of all that I do right now. Anything are these pedestrians, and I want to beat a dead horse, and because you've heard me rant about this so much. People just standing at that damn light, and when that stoplight says, okay, pedestrian, go, and they just walk right out there with their cell phone and not looking for any cars. People, you're supposed to look for cars both ways. I don't care if that light tells you to go. Head on a swivel. Remember, you heard it from me here. Head on a swivel when you're crossing the damn street. Texting. Can nobody live without a damn telephone anymore? What I would like to see happen, you got to have your GPS stuff. I love how you can, use Google Maps, and your Siri can tell you how to get to, your destination. But as far as texting goes, they ought to invent a damn chip that shuts off the texting abilities of the telephone if you're going over 10 miles an hour. Because if you got no business texting, because texting is the new drunk driving, and it's just so damn unsafe. It's unbelievable, and I'm always worried that someone's going to rear end me or just pull over my lane because they got their head down in a lap and they ain't looking at the road, and it just chaps my ass. So anyway, let me get off that rant. Hey, I got an email to question@steveaustonshow.com. And Ruth, I guess she's a nurse. She was saying, hey, Steve, I appreciate you doing the checkups on your shoulder because, anyway, she's in the medical field. So she asked if I keep doing the check-ins about my shoulder. Okay, here's the check-in about my shoulder. Shoulder's feeling solid. Feels pretty good. I'm able now, when I take it out of the sling, just to shower. I'm not supposed to have it out of the sling yet. But now it carries pretty good at my side. I always keep it bent like I'm supposed to. And but it's feeling a lot more solid. That rear delt area is still a little bit tender, but everything feels like it's coming together real nicely. I do believe on the 24th I start range of motion exercises. It'll be very passive because of the stuff that they did in there. But right now the shoulder's feeling pretty solid. When you first, any of you people who've been cut on, when you first get out of there, man, everything's very ginger. You're being very careful. I'm still being very careful. Here's the thing about it. Ever since I got my surgery, I wear flip-flops around the house as my house shoes, and I don't recommend them because you can trip in flip-flops very easy, and if you take a bump, you're going to mess up your surgery, but nonetheless, I'm doing that. But then, to go out for tonight's Kawasaki function, I'll put some tennis shoes on, and my wife will have to tie my damn shoes for me because I can't reach down there to tie my shoe yet because I can't bend my arm to make it work like that. So I use those pull-on sandal things with the straps on the back of the heels when I go out in public. So, a lot of people don't dig them, but my toes aren't exposed. You could actually, these are legal. Y'all know how I feel about people wearing flip-flops on the airplane, because I don't want to see it. It's okay for girls, because it's just that, women always wear sandals. But when them guys wear flip-flops or just go barefooted on an airplane, I don't like that. So these are kind of things, they're by Keen, those sandals that you put on, your toes are covered up, and they got that strap on the back so you can't trip in them. So anyway, that's what I've been wearing since I got out of surgery. Is only those kind of shoes because I can kick my foot up on the chair and pull a strap up over my heel and just alternate feet, and that's my footwear that I've been wearing for the last couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward when I get the range of motion exercises going. I get the okay where I can start being able to bend down and tie my own damn tennis shoes, and I need to take my big sorry ass up into the gym. Man, I tell you what, I went down to El Segundo Brewing Company yesterday in El Segundo, California, and been seeing a lot of people down there, then coming in there. Shoot, we had some people come in from Japan the other day just to try Broken Skull IPA, and they loved it. Got a chance to go down there and hang out with the gang and shoot the breeze. We just bottled a brand new batch of Broken Skull IPA, and man, that stuff was good. I came out here today for this Kawasaki meeting, and I packed up plenty of Broken Skull IPAs in my little Yeti cooler that Ted Fowler 361 gave us for Christmas last year. So thanks, Teddy. The Yeti cooler is working out great, and we're putting it to use with the best beer in the United States of America, my beer. What else do I got going on? I know I had one other tip I was going to tell you guys. Now I remember what I was going to tell you guys, and not a tip. I was going to remember to tell you that the Mike O'Hearn interview that you were going to hear for this podcast has been moved to this Thursday. We changed it because we started getting into a couple of four-letter words, so I figured the conversation would best flow if I moved that podcast to Thursday. So you people that were expecting to hear Mike O'Hearn, one of the most popular fitness models, hell of a bodybuilder, powerlifter, man, forever, been on more covers of damn near, well, I think he's in second place to Arnold. That podcast with Titan Mike O'Hearn is coming up this Thursday. And speaking of Thursdays, coming up next Thursday, I am talking to Ariane Andrews here on the Steve Austin Show. Cameron from WWE. Man, I tell you what, I'm looking forward to talking to her. We go way back to 2011 to Tough Enough, as you will remember. We've been keeping in touch every time I see her at the WWE shows, and so I'm looking forward to talking to Ariane Andrews coming up this coming Thursday. We'll record that, and then we'll probably play it the next Tuesday. I'm looking forward to seeing her and talking about her days in WWE. It's going to be a fun conversation. But anyway, folks, I always give you guys something to watch. I'll tell you, a video or something to watch, and I got a real interesting video for you today because it has to do with me. It has to do with my Broken Skull Steve Austin knife that we came out with Cold Steel Knives. And if you get on YouTube, just type in Cold Steel Broken Skull Must Buy. This dude here, TNP, whatever his name is, he reviews the Broken Skull knife and gives this knife a 5-star review. This guy doesn't even know who I am, and I don't know who he is. So the fact that he doesn't know who I am, and even if he did know who I was, the guy tells everything like it is, straight up. He knows knives, he knows guns, and he goes on to break down and go over the whole Broken Skull knife. And like I told you guys, I told you this was a badass knife from the get-go. This guy confirms everything. The video is 10 minutes and 53 seconds long. It's had over 35,000 views so far. And the reason I'd like you to check it out is because I told you when I put my name on that damn knife, I knew it was a badass knife. Nope, you know what? It's up to 47,000 views right now. So if you get on YouTube, type in Cold Steel Broken Skull Must Buy, and the review for the Broken Skull knife will come up. Listen to what this guy has to say. And all you self-proclaimed knife experts, everybody's got their own kind of knife that they like. But this guy lays it down, and he calls a spade a spade. Check that out. It don't matter whether you buy one or not. I just want to it doesn't matter if you buy one or not. I'm not giving this as a sales pitch. But just so you know that this is a first-class, badass, high-quality blade from Steve Austin, from the Broken Skull, from Cold Steel Knives. There it is. The proof is in that review. This guy knows what he's talking about, and he tells it like it is. That's my video of the week. Man, all the things that are Steve Austin, whether it's that knife, the T-shirt designs and stuff like that, it's all at BrokenSkullRanch.com. If you want to order Broken Skull IPA from El Segundo Brewing Company, you can find it in California at Whole Foods and Total Wine. InsideTheCellar.com is a link on BrokenSkullRanch.com. You can click on that, and you can have Broken Skull IPA shipped to your house wherever you live. We go to about 35 of the states here in the United States of America. I just saw a couple of guys in Australia had bought some. A couple of guys in Japan had gotten some. And I don't know how they got it there, but they did, and they're drinking it worldwide. So anyway, check out anything that you need to know that is Steve Austin related will be on BrokenSkullRanch.com. Hey, folks, here's the chance where I get a chance to thank you guys for all the word-of-mouth advertising you guys are doing on the show. Because if it wasn't for you guys, you know, I ain't got no advertising budget. So due to the fact that you guys are always talking about the show, man, I got people listening like over in London, England, over in Bangkok, Paris, Singapore, Hong Kong. They listen to the show in New York City, of course. That's just a hop, skip, and a jump away. But they also listen to it in Rome, Barcelona, Dublin, Bahrain, Kuala Lumpur, Amsterdam, Prague. Hey, they digging the Steve Austin Show over in Moscow because people are spreading the word. They digging it in Beijing, Taipei, Cancun, Warsaw, Mexico. Of course, they listen to it in Los Angeles. Hell, that's my hometown now when I'm not in Texas. and you guys keep spreading the word and talking about it. So they digging it in Berlin, Rio de Janeiro, Budapest. Of course they dig it in Frisco. They got it down there in South Beach, Miami, Orlando, Sydney, Australia, Lisbon, Las Vegas, Tokyo, Abu Dhabi, Copenhagen, Zurich, Edinburgh, Cape Town, Nice, Sao Paulo. Of course they listen to the show over in D.C., Chicago. They got it overseas, Sweden, over in Stockholm, Boston, Krakow. Why? Because you guys been spreading the word. Word is on the street. They dig it in Helsinki, Birmingham, Glasgow, Hamburg, Montreal, Mumbai. Of course, they got it down there in San Diego. That's craft brew capital of the world. I just go down to San Diego and talk to some of those people down there because they keep helping spreading the word. They listen to the show over in Grenada, Atlanta, Houston, Batavia, Oxford, I think I mispronounced that city, San Jose, Luxembourg City, Nuremberg, Naples, Cambridge, Seattle, Monaco. They listen to the show in Monaco. Why? Because the people are talking about the show. They listen to it in Heidelberg, Bath, Dijon, hey, past the Grey Poupon, Genova, Dresden, Nottingham. They listen to the show everywhere, Aberdeen. Why? Because people are spreading the word. If one of you people spreading the word, Turkey spreading the word, they wouldn't know about the show, but because everybody's talking about it, this show is being heard around the globe. So I got to say thank you very much for spreading the word about the Steve Austin Show, because y'all know we're running this thing on a shoestring budget. We ain't got no advertising budget. You think Norm comes up to me and says, hey, Steve, I want to spend $3 million advertising your show this year. No, it don't happen like that. It happens from real folks like you that listen to the show, put the word on the street, help a brother out, say, hey, man, you ever heard of Steve Austin Show? Oh, you haven't? Well, here's how you download it. You go to iTunes and get it for free, or you can go to podcast1.com and get it for free. It's a digital download. You can listen to it on your smartphone, on your smart tablet, on your computer, or you can listen to it on your damn TV these days with Apple TV and Netflix and all that other stuff. Thank you guys for supporting the show. Again, today's show, my bucket list. I'm going to learn how to build a goddamn neon clock. If it's the last thing I do, I will stick with this. And one of these days, I'm going to be making my own damn clocks, just like Curtis Clocks does. I won't be as good as him. I'll never achieve that type of perfection, but I'm going to be making the basic clock and giving myself something to do. Idle hands are the devil's worship. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. And I guess this is a way for me to kill time by making time, and that's how I'm looking at it. Hey, man, I appreciate you guys supporting the podcast, and I appreciate you guys for supporting my sponsors, and I will thank them right now. Big ups, DDP Yoga and the DDP Yoga Now app. Big ups to Weebly. Go to Weebly.com/Austin to get started on your website today. To Dollar Shave Club. Go to DollarShaveClub.com/Steve. Buy a tube of Dr. Carver shave butter and get an executive razor for free and the Scotts Roundup. And, of course, big thank you to Amazon. They've been supporting this podcast since day one. Folks, use my Amazon links whenever you're doing any online shopping, and Amazon will kick back a couple of bucks to the podcast. It does not cost you anything extra. There's no hidden fees or charges. You can buy whatever you're planning on buying, help with the podcast process. And you can find my Amazon links by going to podcast1.com, click the Killer Deals button at the top right corner of the page, and then hitting the Steve Austin Show button. Bookmark it. You can find it in one little click. Amazon links for USA, UK, and Canada. Appreciates the support. Coming up on Thursday, Titan, Mike O'Hearn. Hey, folks, keep listening. 60-second AP News headlines coming up next. Until then, my name is Steve Austin. I just take my white ass out there and get some sun, and I will catch your ass down the road.
Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at podcast1.com. That's podcastone.com.
I want to say thank you to Drop Stop, one of the great sponsors of this show. Drop Stop is the original patented seat gap filler, as seen on TV Shark Tank. Get the original Drop Stop at buydropstop.com and use code STEVE for 2 free gifts and free shipping. Stay tuned for the latest AP News headlines from Podcast One right after this.
When shopping for car insurance, consider this. Geico has been saving people money on car insurance for over 75 years. So if you're serious about savings, it's simple. Go to geico.com. After 75 years, they know how to save you money.
AP Update, I'm Ross Smithson. Adam Schiff, the ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, says U.S. officials are talking to French intelligence personnel as they try to determine what caused a Paris to Cairo flight to fall out of the sky over the Mediterranean.
Is there any information that we have that would shed light on any of the passengers? But there's nothing yet to confirm the cause of the plane crash.
FBI Director James Comey says intelligence agents from around the world, including some of his, are collaborating on possible causes of the Egypt Air crash.
So far, at least, we have no claim of responsibility or evidence that this was an intentional act, but the FBI, as you would expect, is working with our partners around the world to try and gain a better understanding of what happened. Given that we don't see any indication yet.
None of the 66 people on board American. AP Update, I'm Ross Simpson.